to Concert Pipeline. That's Jens Schiffel.
And that's Steve Jones.
And Jens, it's official. We made it to 2021. They said it couldn't be done, but here we are. We did it, right? You feel a sense of accomplishment?
I'm feeling skeptical. I'm feeling like it's not really 2021. I'm feeling like it's the 13th month of 2020. And it's just going to be more crazy drama and unbelievable shit for at least another 30 days.
For at least the next 11, right? You know,
Right.
We're not out of the woods yet. That's for sure. But, you know, I do feel, you know, even though, you know, we know there's still darkness looming in the air right now, I do feel a sense of like, you know, okay, there's hope. There is light on the horizon of some sort. I don't know what it is, but, you know, I'm like, it can't be as bad as last year. I'm just one of those. I'm like in that category of like, look, that shit's behind us. We're gonna move forward. Just be positive. It's not all gonna be amazing, and life isn't gonna be back to normal. But guess what? You know, we'll make the best of it.
Right. Yeah. You know, I love your enthusiasm and optimism. You might want to check your calendar because I'm pretty sure we've still got aliens coming up, and we've got, you know, the meteor that's headed right towards us. That's, you know, going to be a big deal. Murder
None of this,
hornets or whatever are going to make a big return.
None of this phases me. It all sounds like, you know, great new movies on Netflix. So
Right.
B level bad movies, or you know,
Right.
they're on
Exactly.
Netflix, so, yeah.
Yep.
Well,
You got it.
so today on the program, Jens, we have an artist named Tony Glausi, who is a trumpet player from New York. Had a chance to talk to him, and we had a really good chat, but we'll get into that in a minute. I did let you know yesterday that I had a story to tell you.
Yes, you did. We actually delayed the recording of this pod, right, by about a day because of unexpected drama. And turns out that might be a good thing because it allowed you to experience something that you're going to share with us. And I'm a little afraid of what this story might entail. So I'm gonna listen, but you know, it's like my fingers are clenched to the table. Like, oh my God.
Sure. So I went out hunting yesterday.
Right. Okay, wait a minute. What time did you leave? You like?
Oh my God. I left at 2:30 in the morning.
2:30. Okay. So it's not like you left at night and then spent the night there, right? You actually got up super early and then.
I mean, I got up, like I woke up at like after 12 o'clock. There were some things that were keeping me awake, I'll just say. And I was barely, you know, I didn't really fall back asleep, you know, really. So I was mostly awake since then, 12 a.m. hour. But then I left at 2:30 and got out to Grizzly Island, you know, less than an hour
basically
later.
you got hardly any sleep.
Yeah, that's how that works. That's how this hobby works. So this is the last month of duck hunting season. So sleep will be returning in whatever little capacity I get it in. You know, that the crazy
You'll take
days
it when it comes.
sleeping till 5:30 or 6 is going to be amazing. You know,
sleeping till 5:30 or 6.
Yeah.
Oh my God. For me, I think you know, I think your 5:30 or 6 sleeping in is more like my 10:30, 11 sleeping in.
Yeah. So yeah, something like that. Normal people can sleep later. I'm not that normal person, so it's just never been built into me. But so got out to the line. There's two lines out at Grizzly Island where when you go out hunting, one is the reservations line, and then there's a sweat line where if you don't have a reservation, you go in that line, right? And I had a reservation, so I'm in the reservation line. Got there about 3:30. My met up with my buddy at 3:30, and we went in. He drove in right behind me, and so we're there. We talked a little bit, but then I was sitting in my car. I think I got out and was talking to him or putting on my waders or something like that around 4:30 in the morning, and we hear someone yelling, a name. I think it was, I want to say Willie, something like that. And uh, it was just loud, and it sounded like, okay, they were just getting a little silly,
Uh-huh.
waiting for the line to open and reservations to start being taken. My friend told me that was, happened to be the name of one of the guys at the check station also.
Mm-hmm.
So he thought they were just calling out to him just to be being silly, right?
Right.
But it's loud. But so what we find out a little bit later was pretty pretty sad. Someone a couple cars ahead of me had a heart attack.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and we're deep, at Grizzly Island, and I mean it's 15 minutes just to the main road, let alone
Wow.
however far a hospital is, and
Mm-hmm.
so it was at least 20 minutes before paramedics were able to arrive. Um, and
Wow. That seems like a
yeah,
pretty good response time because you guys are pretty isolated over there already, right?
yeah, yeah. So I mean, we saw him, trying to give the guy CPR and everything.
Uh-huh.
He didn't end up making it.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
That's freaky.
yeah.
My
So
God. I mean, holy shit. I mean, having a heart attack is already a terrifying experience, but then, knowing that you're kind of in the middle of nowhere and it's going to take a while, for the paramedics to come, and God forbid you don't have cell signal to call 911, that's
yeah,
not necessarily something
there's
you can assume.
yeah, the signal out there isn't great. I mean, most people
Hmm.
can. I mean, you can probably get a call off or what have you, but it's spotty. And um, so the paramedics eventually come, and just talking to my friend, and we're talking to a couple of other hunters outside,
Hmm.
our cars and everything. And
Hmm.
I just we both would have assumed it would have. We didn't know, really what exactly was going on, but we would have assumed
Hmm.
it would have been like kind of a quicker transition, because it was just a
Hmm.
really long drawn out process where, okay,
Hmm.
they weren't lifting him into the ambulance or anything like that. They were still trying
Hmm.
to give him I saw 45 minutes into the situation, at least they were still trying to give him CPR, it seemed. I guess I
Hmm.
figured the way I figured it was like, okay, either it works or it doesn't, sort of
Hmm.
thing. Not that it's you could keep trying. I don't know, but
Right.
yeah, but I mean, more authority cars, ended up coming, and um, and then uh, they, I think, covered him with a yellow tarp.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh, poor guy.
yeah, yeah, and
Crazy.
so so there was, it was like an hour delayed to let people into, who had
Hmm.
reservations and everything, and they had us turn around and go around like the maintenance road because the part was
Yeah.
blocked off. But you know,
Right.
we did eventually get in and start hunting. I mean, that's the closest I've been to death. I mean,
Yeah.
physically, I think, in
Hmm.
you know, inside of like my grandfather's funeral when I was a kid. I mean, luckily,
Hmm.
like this point in my life, I haven't been that close,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy. That kind of reminds me of um, an event. I was in Alaska, and I don't remember what city it was, but it was a coastal city. Um, we took a gondola all the way up to the top of this hill where you could, do some hiking and walking, and there was a restaurant there and stuff. And somebody had just had a heart attack and passed away up there, like,
Mm,
within 20 minutes, I think, before we got there. And there were like two friends that were on vacation, just wanted to go to Alaska, do some hiking, and right before the hike started, yeah, same kind of thing. The guy had a heart attack, died.
pretty
I was
gnarly,
like,
huh? Yeah.
holy shit, But I guess in that perspective, if you're gonna die, if you're gonna have a heart attack and die, why not have it doing something you love, like
He didn't even
hunting,
get to do
or
it. He
oh,
didn't get
I
to the
know he
hunt.
didn't. Too bad he didn't
Yeah.
have the heart attack after the hunt, right? I mean, I hate to laugh about it, but I mean, you kind of you kind of think. I mean, would you rather have a heart attack
Yeah.
at work,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, where you're having a miserable time working on whatever with a bunch of people you hate, or you know, it's going to be someplace beautiful and relaxing? And it's like, oh God, you know, I'm so glad I died in my favorite hunting spot.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. So, and
Trying to spin it in a positive way.
yeah, and so I did get out hunting with three friends, and at first I was like, okay, I had the reservation. I brought on my friend John. He invited a friend, and then he ended up inviting another friend. So we had four people, which is a lot for a reservation. I mean, it's a lot to be hunting it all in one spot at the same time. Um, Generally, and especially on a Sunday at Grizzly Island, like it's just a lot. And I'm like, really, this isn't going to be a good hunt, right? Like this is just too
Hmm.
too much. And
Hmm.
we ended up going out to a spot that was pretty deep. Um, like it was probably almost a mile walk out. I mean, I biked out to
Hmm.
find this spot for us, and I got us a good spot. It was an incredible hunt. It was really,
Wow.
really great. Definitely my best of the year because I brought home three birds. Um,
Nice. Good for you. All right. That's exciting.
I know, better than all the other hunts combined, really at this point, which is sad. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
But but
it
so
takes being close to a death experience to,
it's
you
that's
know.
what yeah that's what gets it in, out of me is so um
Wow, man.
yeah, so there were birds just coming into our pond all day, and actually the four people worked to our advantage because we were all able to call at the same time, and the birds liked where we were and the
Hmm.
decoy layout, and and our calling. They would come in and working, and we were able to finish them off pretty easily. Lost a couple birds, and in the tules and what have you, which
Mm,
sucks, but um,
mm,
you know, John brought his hunting dog and was able to help you know, find a bird for a couple of birds for us too, and it was it was great. It was just really, really, positive. We walked out between four guys. We walked out with 12 birds,
mm.
which ain't too bad for a Sunday, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. You've got to, you know, maybe you should start getting into archery or something where you can attach like a GPS tracker or whatever,
mm, mm,
you know, to the
yeah,
arrow or to the bolt.
that
Just some
sounds great.
ideas.
I appreciate your suggestions, Jens, and I should be writing these down, shouldn't I? So,
Well, at first I thought, well, just attach like one of these tile things to the
mm.
bullet, but you're using shot though, right?
It's shot shell. Yes, it's lots of
It's
little
shot shells.
tiny
Yeah,
BBs.
I
So
know.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you could get a GPS chip into each tiny little BB, and if you did, well, it probably
Yeah.
wouldn't help much.
No, nor would I want to eat that if it did get in the bird and I didn't find it. So yeah, yeah,
Oh my God,
yeah,
yeah.
not a good idea.
Crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
well,
Wow, what a
well,
story, dude. What
yeah,
a
well,
story.
that's the story. So you know what? I think
Yeah.
on that note, we should bring in our guest. What do you think?
Let's do it.
All right. Again, this is Tony Glausi from New York. He's a trumpet player. We had a really good conversation, and he has a new album called "When It All Comes Crashing Down" that is out now. Here's the interview with Tony Glausi.
All right. Welcome, Tony.
Tony, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you doing? Do you hear me okay? See me?
Yep, can hear you just fine. How are you doing? You having a good week so far?
It's okay. I just got back to New York actually last night. So,
Yeah. How are things in New York right now?
well, I'm finding out as I'm reaching out to certain people and venues just to see what we can kind of put together over the next few months that everything is actually closed. And the only stuff that's possible is outdoor concerts, I guess, or not even concerts. It would be like an outdoor gig, kind of like if a restaurant has an outdoor heater, you could play there. Otherwise, we can always be recording. I've been working on a lot of production over the last year, but that's how it's
Yeah.
going here. So not great.
Yes. So are you able to play any shows? Have you been able to play any, even, small shows, over the past year since this happened?
Um, yeah, I was on the road in March when things like fully shut down. So I came home and I didn't do anything until June. And then in June, I was doing a lot of marches, a lot of protests here in the city. And so that's playing. It's not a show, but it's some playing. And just from seeing people again through that, that led to some outdoor gigs. Maybe I played a dozen over the summer. I didn't play any ticketed concert. Let me think about it. I think I played one ticketed show, but I was making money playing, and it was fun to just be outside and hang with people. But then when I was in Mexico working on a record, I did play two shows that were ticketed. They were like legit, even though they were somewhat limited capacity. It was very fun. So
Yeah.
that's it. I played two since the pandemic, like two real ticketed concerts.
And how were those shows? How was the turnout? Like, what was the vibe like to be able to play those shows?
Well, it was a beautiful thing to be back in it for a moment, but there was this melancholy feeling. I don't know if it was just in my head. I think I came in with just ready to play, but it felt different. It was like people, nobody's getting super close to each other. There's just an energy. There's just people have some, it's some people are, I think, pretty broken, and I think, thank God, we do have music to heal. I mean, I really believe in the healing power of music, and I think that some of the people that were there, it might have been the highlight of their month. It might have really helped them get through something. You never know. But there was definitely a melancholy feeling and a feeling of maybe nostalgia. Nothing was exactly the way it would be um, pre-pandemic, just because we're being safe and all that. But for me, it was very, very rejuvenating.
Yeah, yeah,
And I hope to do more of that. And like I said, I've been trying since getting back. Not even 24 hours ago, I've been trying to just. I'm emailing and texting people. All right, let's do it. Let's get back to it. And people are like, "Yeah, man, I don't know what you're talking about. It's not really happening right now." It's like, oh.
I know. It's like everybody's like, okay, it's time, right? It's time, but it's not time. Yeah, and who knows when it will be, which is sad. Um, you mentioned the marches that you did. I saw a clip of one with John Batiste that you did. Can you tell me about kind of that experience?
That was the first one that I played, and that was June 5th, I believe. And after that, we just kept going. It was, one or the other person setting it up, and it was just like, all right, we're meeting here, 12 p.m., bring your horn, let's go. And it was, of course, uh, almost exclusively just in support of Black people, Black Lives Matter. There were some later in the year that were a little more about voting, maybe, and policy change in that regard, a little more political in that sense. But I did at least 20 of those marches. And like I said, they would be whatever time, whatever day. People are out of work right now. So all sorts of people were just meeting in storms and masked up, but just risking really their lives to get the message across. Phew, I know that it did something, not just something. I mean, it did a lot of things. So that kept us alive musically too. It was like I said, really fun to just see people that you hadn't seen for 4 or 5 months and be able to be outside and just making music. We play all kinds of tunes. Sometimes we play, spirituals and gospel tunes or American folk songs, or then we play bebop, and it's just like whatever people knew. We just marched down the street. Sometimes the band was really, really happening. Sometimes the band was like people I'd never met, like not one person I knew. It was that kind of thing too. And you just go and play. It's a really cool thing.
Yeah. So what did it mean to you to be a part of that, that movement? That's something so pivotal in our history right now.
Well, what did it mean to me to be a part of it? I mean, I wasn't really thinking about myself. I was just thinking about my Black friends right next to me that I was playing with, thinking, yeah, this is for you in the future. This is for, I don't know. I didn't really think about myself in it. I had the time and I had my horn and I had the heart to do it. And it was just about, making an impact, connecting with people and making a statement. So I don't know, like, I mean, what I did get out of it, selfishly, if you will, was, like I said, the fun of playing again out in the streets. But yeah, I mean, that wasn't what it was about. It was about
No.
the movement. And yeah, I think on a historic level, this will be talked about for years. I really do think so. Not that I will be talked about. I mean, I was just
No.
one of many people participating, but it's a movement, and it's a movement that, of course, has been going on since, well, the '60s, if you want to look at it like that, or since the mid 1800s, if you want to look at it like that, or however you want to look at it. This is not a new thing, right? Defeating racism, standing up for our you know friends of all other races than white. I mean, that is not a new battle, but it had a new color this year. That's for sure. I think the pandemic really was what gave it that color. I mean, people were so frustrated, right?
Yeah.
So desperate for change on a personal level, on a community level, on a national level, and on a racial level, on a cultural level. It's like, come on. I mean, when this stuff happens with George Floyd, or I mean, the list is too long. It is embarrassingly long of people just in 1 year, let alone a decade, or again, wherever you want to start the counting. I mean, this is too long, and this has gone on for too long. So, yeah, for me as an individual to be a part of it, it's like the work needs to be done. So, I'm happy to be a part of it as much as I can. And like I said, it's not about me, so I'm not looking to get anything out of it. It's fun to play music. That's a beautiful thing. But there are other ways that we can help. I mean, I was donating, as well as I'm trying to think. I went to other marches where I didn't play, other protests, and of course I was posting on social media. And I've had people that I've seen since then who said, "Man, I saw your involvement in the Black Lives Matter marches. That was really impactful. Thank you for that. White people, black people, you name it." And that doesn't mean, I mean, that's nice to hear, but not because it strokes my ego, but because it means that they're listening, they're watching, that they do see it, and it is reaching them. So that's nice. It's nice to know that what you're doing is reaching people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important to, I mean, to really stand up when it's time to stand up and kind of
Yeah.
support those that need it, right? I mean, now more than ever, I mean, we're seeing like how divided we are, but how much we need to kind of come together, um, to for the greater good. Like, I mean, we're not going to beat this thing alone. We're not going to beat any of this alone, right? And so
Yeah.
it's tough.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the beginning, shall we?
Sure.
uh, so you grew up in a musical family. Tell me about your family dynamic growing up. What you listened to? Did your family members play instruments too?
I grew up the second of six kids, so it's a family of eight. Now people have wives and husbands and boyfriends and girlfriends, sometimes things like that. So sometimes it's a lot more. But everybody played. My dad played piano and sang. My mom was a fantastic pianist, and she would teach piano as well. So she taught us all to play. A lot of it was by ear too. Like I sat down at the piano when I was really little. I didn't have books or methods or anything. And where I really started to learn music was picking out melodies that I knew by ear. That was my first real experience with music. Other than, of course, my parents always had great records playing: Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind and Fire. We had Glenn Miller. I mean, I don't know. They had such great taste. Queen, Led Zeppelin, all those great bands from the '70s, as well as like more old school records as well. And we were listening on CDs and tapes, and we had those old cars where you could only have like 5 CDs loaded into the car, and so we just
Yeah.
burn out these albums. We had this album of Irish jig music. We would listen to bands like Enya, from the '90s. I mean, whatever. I think it was all good. It was all great melody, and I think we got a sense of rhythm instilled in us. I remember there's like a family video of me dancing on the little footrest to Stevie Wonder's "I Wish."
Yeah.
So, uh, yeah, just singing and dancing. We were a church going family for some years, and so I had the chance to sing and play even organ there. I was playing organ too. But just a lot of music at home, and great taste in records, and my parents knew they also have good taste in other art. I mean, and they like to learn and speak languages, and they're super into visual art and books. I mean, my dad reads a book a day, that kind of person. So
Wow. Yeah.
just a good family full of great art. And
Yeah.
eventually, I started playing the trumpet. So when I was 10 years old, I was like, all right, I want to play the horn. It just was attractive to me, just visually. I like the sound of it. And nobody super close to me played. I had a cousin that played, and I had a grandfather that played, um, sort of for fun. All of my grandparents at one point were professional musicians. None of them made that their full time, lifetime career, if you will. But I had a grandpa put himself through college playing drums in Portland, Oregon. And then I had a grandpa, the one that played trumpet, playing in big bands all throughout the Bay Area, California. I had another, so and then my grandmothers, one of them played, they both played the organ and the piano, and one of them played in violin in the symphony. So
Yeah. And so you started with the piano when you're, I mean, around age 4, and then you kind of transitioned to the trumpet around age 10. And then did you kind of leave the piano behind at that point and just go all in on the trumpet?
no, funny enough, I never left the piano behind. I actually got more into it when I was 13. I started taking serious lessons for the first time when I was 13. I did 3 years of piano. Uh, what do they call it? They call it Certificate of Merit. I was living in
Mhm.
California at the time, where you got to learn a piece from the Baroque period, the classical period, Romantic period, Impressionistic period, a modern piece, and then you have to do theory. Very cool. So I was getting my piano chops together after having started the trumpet. And I was mostly in classical music, even though my listening was by and large, I mean, it was like almost exclusively black music. It was jazz and R&B, and even the stuff I was listening to on the radio was still black music. But I played classical music, and I loved classical music. And it was when I was 16 that I started to actually get into improvisation. And then my senior year of high school, I started taking improv lessons, and I joined 2 or 3 extracurricular uh, bands in Portland, Oregon, where I grew up, and that's what sent me, down the rabbit hole. I was like, oh wait, I get it. This is where I find my voice.
Yeah.
Even at 16 or 17, I really found a sense of self in that music.
Yeah. And so did you join other bands during that time, like high school bands, or I mean, did you find like the band class? Like, what was it that kind of you gravitated to kind of scratch that itch?
Well, I had a friend that was like, listen to this record, and somebody was like, man, what do you listen to as far as trumpet players go? And I'd be like, oh, Sergei Nakaryakov. Like I was listening to all these classical cats, and they said, well, why don't you ever listen to Chet Baker or Lee Morgan, Freddie Hubbard? I was like, okay. So then I got into it, and those are who I got into first. Those 3 cats, and I still think they're some of the baddest trumpet players of all time. It took me a little bit to get into other people that then became uh, more favorites of mine, like Clifford Brown or Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong is my favorite, but I didn't really get into that until I was maybe 20. And then once I, bit the hook, it's like I was stuck. Other people that would make my list of um, influential trumpet players would be, I mean, Wynton Marsalis, huge. Booker Little. I like Fats Navarro a lot. Dizzy. Um, Tom Harrell. This guy, a friend of mine in Seattle named Jay Thomas. These are just people that were super influential on my sound or my feel or the development of the language. Um, Nick Payton. A lot of people. I can make a long list, but yeah, I really started with Chet and Lee and Freddie. A lot of that 50s, 60s, those Blue Note records, and just stuff that was, I would say, easier to understand for somebody that's getting into the music. There's something that's I think hard for a lot of people to understand about early jazz. And then I think it's a little more obvious why we might find it hard to relate to modern jazz. But I find a lot of people get into it in the 50s and 60s. And so I think that's great. You got to start wherever you start. I had a professor in college that always said, man, listen to whatever you want to listen to, transcribe whatever you want to transcribe. Like the most important thing is just keeping your heart and head in the game. Although I don't
Yeah.
like to call it a game. It's not a game. It's art. You know,
Sure.
it's a pursuit of passion, and nobody got anywhere not enjoying it. That's not
Yeah.
how it works.
So at what point did you start writing your own music, kind of going from playing, other people's songs to kind of doing your own thing?
Well, I did that at a young age. Actually, I was always writing little jingles, crummy little piano pieces, like little etudes, and funny little kind of classical sounding pieces when I was 7 or 8, even. Um, and I say they were crummy. They're actually probably pretty decent. For somebody that didn't really know a whole bunch, I didn't really get into theory until I started playing the trumpet, and then later studied the piano a little more seriously. And I was doing all these theory books and tests and all that, and that's what made the composition better. I mean, music is, you can write great music not knowing anything about music. There's no doubt. But it helped me to learn more about chords and scales and progressions, and really study the vocabulary of other composers or idioms like jazz, and see, well, what is bebop? All right, well, okay, now if I write a bebop melody, oh, okay, here we go, right? If I tried to write a bebop melody when I was 16, it wouldn't sound good. It just takes years listening and studying and transcribing. So it's the same thing with composition. I was doing it when I was little, but it got better the more music I played. You got to learn other people's music to understand what your music is about, especially when you go back later. So when I got through all of my studies, in the process of going through, I did an undergrad for 3 years and then a master's degree for 2 years. And in the process of that, I went back to the music that I'd grown up on. I started listening to Stevie again, and then I was just stuck in that. And then since then, so it's been, I think, about 4 years since I've been out of college. My sound and trajectory has, as far as composing and band leading goes, has really gone way more into the songwriting realm, and that's where it's going to live, just based on what I have ready to release. The album, When It All Comes Crashing Down, of course, comes out tomorrow. You know, today's Thursday,
Yeah.
tomorrow's Friday, January 8th, and then I have another record that should be coming out this year. That's even more like a songwriter album. Like other producers that I admire will sometimes put out these records where they have other featured artists on it. And it's kind of like just a big mixtape full of records they've written, and that's what this second album would be like. But that songwriting thing, I think, came about in my voice after getting out of the conservatory style of thinking and composing, and really having, what's cool about being in school is that you always have a lot of musicians around you that'll play anything, great players that'll play anything you write. So you can really push. Of course, that's not to say that here in New York there's not great players that can play anything that I write. It's a different thing. It's like I'm more interested in uh, having a band and putting those shows together, and it's less about the like, oh, let's just see what I can do, right? And so I feel like a lot of my first compositions and records were pushing those types of boundaries, if you will.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, I'm just in a phase where songwriting is super interesting to me again. It was interesting to me when I was in high school. I was just playing piano and singing tunes for girls or whatever, and that's what it was all about for me. Like, music was just the way to make the girls laugh and smile or whatever. So it's like I was playing Stevie tunes or my own little tunes. I used to write these tunes and lyrics and all that. And like I said, I left that when I started studying composition, and I think I needed to go through that. Though it was nice to learn all those things and really, I don't want to say perfect, but just get way deeper into composition and understand it on a deeper level, and then be able to come out of that and write things that maybe aren't as harmonically deep as I would have written in my master's studies of composition. But it's more me. You feel me? You kind of got to go
Yeah.
through that to come out the other side and understand what your voice really is. So it all circles back. I've found for myself, and I see it in other people. But they always find a way to go back to what really got them into the game.
Yeah. So let's talk about When It All Comes Crashing Down a bit, right?
Yeah.
And a couple songs that I want to talk about that are on the album. I got a chance to listen to it.
Yeah.
Really dig it. Finding My Way Out of the Maze. So I want to start with that one. Tell me about how that song came about. I mean, I when I'm listening to that, I actually listened to it with my girlfriend last night, and I'm like, this is kind of how my brain works, like at a million miles a minute sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about that song and how, I guess, how it came about.
Well, I That's funny. I haven't been asked this yet. I don't remember exactly how it came about, but I know that I wrote the lyric, if you will, the spoken word. I wrote that first, and then I wrote this. It sounds like it starts like a. I mean, what would you say? It has a fanfare, right? So and it goes into this thing that sounds like some sort of, I don't know, like a church orchestra. It just, it's like, here we go. And then there's that little hymn moment in there with the piano before it breaks out into the fast swing, which is where the spoken word comes in. It's meant to just take you from like the church or the countryside, like kneeling and praying, like whatever you want to visualize it at. It's supposed to take you from that world into a really chaotic, state of mind. I kind of want people to feel like you said. I want them to feel like, wow, this is how my brain is working at a million miles a minute. Um, and I remember writing the lyric under the influence of something. I'll tell you that. I think I might have been just super drunk on the train late at night, coming home from something, and maybe thinking really aggressive thoughts about religion, which I had grown up with. And I just started writing, it's all based on a 2,000-year-old myth, blah, blah, blah. Now, that's just my religious upbringing, was Christian centered, right? There are other people that grow up in other religions that, of course, have different myths that they're, still engaging in. But it's just a quick spoken word that just goes and it lays it down. And in fact, I could send it to you if you want to look at it later, but it just
Sure.
lays it out for you. It's like, this is the myth. And I'm so glad I made it out of the maze. And that's what the line ends with, right? And when I recorded that, this was in LA in October of 2019. I remember I was kind of struggling at 9:30 a.m. to get into the zone and have to deliver that because we had 3 or 4 takes of that fast swing section on the back half of the tune, and I was trying to find a take that I could get all the words in perfectly. And so I finally chose the one, and it was the shortest take of all of them. So it means I had to say the words so fast. And so I drank a bunch of coffee and then smoked 2 cigarettes and then went up to the mic and I was just, and that's exactly how it came out. So it's wild, it's a trip. It's sort of like a character piece. I don't imagine anybody to make it like their wedding song or but fall asleep listening to it. It's not. I'm not trying to make a hit with that,
Yeah.
but it felt like it needed to be said. Those are things that years later I still stand by. I mean, the way I wrote it, even every bit of the phrasing is just as relevant. I don't feel really that aggressively at all towards religion or religious thinking. I don't agree with it, but it's. I believe that you often need to be um, rather loud with your message or with your rhetoric for it to really cut through. So that's what that's about.
Yeah. You have Stardust on the album, and
Mm-hmm.
you had dedicated that to Breonna Taylor, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
came out. Yeah. Anyway, it came out on her birthday when I released it back in June.
yeah, and so tell me about kind of incorporating that into the album and how you placed it there. I think it was the last track on the album, right?
Yeah, it's the last track. Well, the way I look at the album is in 3 chapters. The first 3 songs are Once Upon a Dream. Okay, we're in a dreamlike state of love. Then it comes crashing down. That's track 2 when it all comes crashing down. And then track 3, Alone in the Rain. You're alone in the rain. And the last line of that song is I'd rather be alone than with you. Super dark. And then we wake up from that and we're in this religion chapter. So tracks 4, 5, 6 are finding my way out of the maze, to pray, and the end of an era. And then the last 4 tracks are a sort of a new chapter of love and a new chapter of self. So they have Pretty Ladies and then Hasta la Madrugada, I've Been Waiting, and Stardust. I view Stardust as a very reverent. I mean, it's just one of my favorite songs. It's so beautiful, and I think the way it plays on the album is a lullaby. I think it plays because it comes after I've Been Waiting, and I've Been Waiting is this song about a night of romance, and it sort of fizzles away in this dreamlike fashion. And then we have Stardust right after that. That's the last song. So I look at it as like the lullaby. We're going to sleep now. We've gone through this massive adventure of love and triumph and things failing and then learning, and and then we have Stardust, and it's just this, like, I look at it as a reverent offering of peace. And like you said, when I first released it, I did dedicate it publicly, and ask people to donate if they could, to Breonna Taylor, because it just so happened, like, that was weeks before scheduled. It just so happened to be released on the day of her birthday. She would have been 20. You're gonna have to tell me, maybe 8,
29, I think.
29 or
Was it
something. Yeah.
some? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And it was just a hard time to release music. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's not what I want to be putting out. But thank God it's Stardust, of all things. I was like, here's this offering of peace. Hopefully you guys listen to this. It's not going to give me any money. It'll give me a cent, not even a fraction of a cent on Spotify. It's not about that. I just
Yeah.
hope, no matter where people are, that my music can uplift. I think even a dark piece of music, like I was saying, that the end of Alone in the Rain or Finding My Way Out of the Maze, in my mind, those are still uplifting pieces of music. And you can come to those pieces of music from a state of darkness, or a state of grief or regret or being alone. I mean, think about it, people are just so alone right now. And so I hope that this album can reach a part of them, some sort of universal human part of them, at least universal human truths that we all can relate to. Um, Everything from love and joy to sorrow and solitude. And those feelings, whether or not they're put into words or specific, titles or harmonic progressions, I mean, I think that those truths are felt just in the spirit of the music. I've had people sending really, really profound messages about the album. I was shipping out copies early December, so that I've had, and maybe 100 people have had the chance to hear it. It's doing what I hoped it would do, which is really stirring people up. And again, I know you asked about Stardust. That's the idea, is that the album can finish with this peaceful offering. It's after this long journey. You're in a new chapter of love with those tracks 7, 8, 9. Track 10 is like, here we are. It's gonna be okay, you know.
Yeah. And you mentioned Hasta la Margarita. Is that you singing on that? And
Yeah.
so tell me, I mean, you kind of do this weaving, right, between, I mean, English and Spanish. Tell me about that balance for you, kind
Yeah.
of how that is incorporated into your music.
Yeah. I've only recently started releasing music in Spanish, but I've been a Spanish speaker in ways for most of my life. It got really deep with me when I left for college, and I spent half of a summer living in Costa Rica, and then I've spent a lot of time in Spain. I was dating a girl in Spain for 7 months, and she spoke very little English, and so our relationship was all in Spanish. The woman I'm with now is Mexican, and our relationship is in Spanish. And I love boleros, and I'm always learning new ones. And I spent a lot of time in Mexico in the fall, and so Spanish language and Latin culture is super meaningful to me. It's just a big part of my life, and I started writing tunes occasionally in Spanish because what I was living might have been in a Spanish-speaking country or with a Spanish-speaking woman. And then I put out that EP last summer, Sabor a Mi, with just 4 tracks on it. 2 of them are boleros, 2 of them are covers, and then 2 of them are originals. And one of them was Hasta la Madrugada. So I released that on that EP, but my intention all along, because I recorded it the same day with the same people, it was to have it on When It All Comes Crashing Down. So that's the only track in Spanish on this album. And like I said, I think it's as simple as, if I'm living it in Spanish, I'm writing it in Spanish. There are things that I live in English that I'm going to write in English, and if it comes out in Spanish, it comes out in Spanish. And I think these days, I mean, especially with my following, there are enough people that are going to understand it that I don't mind. It doesn't matter to me that I'm like a white American with a probably primarily English speaking audience. I'm gonna mix it up. I'm gonna do it. If I spoke Arabic, there'd be some songs in Arabic. I just don't, right? So it's a big part of me. In fact, it'll probably become an even bigger part of me. I think I'm currently working on at least as much music in Spanish as I am in English. So
Yeah. So you're, aside from When It All Comes Crashing Down, you have another album that's coming out, and then four collaborative albums, as I understand.
yeah, or even more than that. There's just a lot of um, projects that I've been co-writing and co-producing. Of course, adding trumpet and keys and bass and whatever too. But just brilliant artists. I feel very fortunate to have such great friends. Really, mostly singers right now. Just people that I'm working with who will hopefully be releasing things this year. I know two or three of them are for sure going to be coming out this year, if not next year. And then I'm just trying to get myself, especially finding out this morning that it's like, nah, everything's closed. It's like, well, then I'm just going to be recording because if that's all we can do, let's just do it. Well, we'll do it now while we're not on the road. You know, it's so hard. It takes so long to get recording projects done when you're busy playing and touring because it's just hard to catch a moment to really get in and like listen to the mixes like you're supposed to and all that. And so I think now's the time. But maybe there might be even more than 4 or 5. There might be 10 albums.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think they're all going to be under my name, right?
Sure.
They're collaborative projects, endeavors that I have with, like I said, primarily singers right now, and I'm doing everything from co-writing one or two out of the few songs, or producing all of them, recording them, playing, like I said, trumpet and keys are my main instruments. Even singing with some of these people, so it's very cool. Like I said, I feel very fortunate.
Yeah. And you teach as well, teach others. So I mean, tell me about that. I know you did a master class, but you also teach for a couple of schools. So tell me kind of how you kind of pay it forward past what you've learned on to
Yeah,
others.
yeah. I I've always been teaching since I was 14, so it's not always, but a long time.
It's a long time. I mean, as a
Yeah,
young teacher, so
I've been teaching for 12 years. That's pretty wild. I had like two students when I was a freshman in high school. I had two students that were in sixth grade, and it's been interesting. I mean, my relationship with teaching with my students has always changed, as I think it does for most people. I right now feel very me. I feel very much myself with my students, and I feel like they're getting uh, my experience out of working with me. I think that's in the end what we all hope to get from our teachers is to see it from their eyes. I mean, you don't need me to tell you what scales to practice or what to transcribe, right? I have 8 students at the moment, and they're all improvisers, um, ages 15 to 65. Unfortunately, all online right now. And I say unfortunately because it's very hard to connect on the energetic level with somebody over a Skype call. It's been a long time now. I am on the faculty at the New School in New York, and I had 2 students last year. Right now, 0. I'm on a faculty of a private school in LA, private high school, and that's cool. I have one guy there, and it's cool to have students applying for college and see where they get in and kind of help know that you're really helping them achieve their dreams. But I believe in sharing, period. I believe in sharing knowledge. I believe in sharing experience. I don't know a whole bunch. I'm 26 years old. I I'm still learning, and I know all my students know that. They know I'm young. But they know I can do what I do, and I know what I know, and I know what I know based on experience, having lived it and played it or seen it, done it, and I really enjoy sharing that information, that experience, because that's what I've enjoyed in my teachers when they really give me their life in the form of music. It's a beautiful thing. And I believe in that for the longevity of the music, the tradition of improvisation or the trumpet. I mean, those things are unfortunately going out of style. And that's okay, you know. So are so so is these beautiful styles of architecture. I live here in New York, and you see these beautiful buildings from 1910. I don't think they're as beautiful these days. That's okay. Things change, but there are so many reasons to keep passing the torch, and I'm very happy to be a part of that. However, I
Yeah,
can.
yeah. Where do you land on ska music? That's heavily trumpet
I
based
don't
and
know.
everything.
Yeah,
No.
I don't know any ska music. In high school, And in my first year of college, there were people that would try to get me to join ska bands, and I'd always show up to these things, and they'd be like, "All right, let's play," and it was all by ear, right? And then
Mhm.
I'd be like, "Oh yeah, why don't we like play this minor chord, and I'll play the 7, you can play the 3," and everybody'd be like, "What are you even talking about?" And I was like, "Oh no," and that's cool. It's not like I thought I was
Yeah.
better for knowing a little bit of music terminology. It was just hard to relate. It was like, oh man, we're speaking different languages here. It was like,
Yeah.
you know, I didn't really stay with that. I don't think that's the case for all ska bands or whatever. I really don't know anything about ska. You'd have to hit me to some records or some
Right.
bands.
You start with Real Big Fish, right? And then a little
Sure,
less than Jake in there, and
sure. Yeah, tell me
yeah,
the path. I don't know.
right.
uh,
I don't know. But yeah, as we kind of wind out here, so tell me, like, what is one thing you've learned about yourself over this past crazy year? Like, what that, that where you've had more time to kind of just sit and slow down, where you're not touring, you're not going out to different countries,
yeah,
things are slowed down, right?
yeah. I've learned that I'm completely in control of everything in my life. Of course, that's sort of a poetic way of putting it because, of course, I can't control the fact that there is a virus, right?
Yeah.
But I am my own master and commander and God, and I manifest the things that I want to manifest. I have gained more and more power over my mind, and in turn over my body, and in turn over my music, and over my relationships, and the good type of power, the really humble, you know, sort of feminine type of power. And I feel like this year has taught us all to slow down, shown us what we really are or what we're really not. And we've had to accept those things. I think that is a beautiful process. So I've become more and more present over this last year, feel more and more in love with myself, with life, with the woman I'm with my family. I've seen friends kind of fall out, and that's okay. They were probably meant to fall out. I've sort of fallen out of certain people's lives. That's okay. I think things are falling more into their places. Now, it's been financially very tough. It's been economically for the nation, for the world, very tough. Not being able to play and tour and do the quote normal things that we do, that's very hard. But it's hard on the mind and the spirit, and we go through that, right? What's hard on the body is, well, for one, the virus, which thank God I haven't gotten yet. But what's hard on the body is usually a result of our mental and spiritual upkeep, you know? So it's been a really important, I'll say, 10 months. And I think we got at least another 10 months, unfortunately. It's okay. I want to go deeper and deeper into myself, keep finding out who I am, keep loving, just learning to love. I mean, that's what it's all about, whether it's
Yeah.
music or, you know, just hanging out with a friend or working in insurance. I mean, whatever it is, it better be from a place of love. Everything we do should be from a place of love and from a place of self respect. You know, people treat other people the way they treat themselves. And I want to treat people well, and so I'm working on treating myself well. And that's what it's all about. And like I said, I think that comes out in the music with time. So
Yeah.
it's all changing.
It is. It is every day. Things are changing as we're seeing,
It's all
right? Like
changing.
it's,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's all
Well, Tony, I
changing.
want to, yeah, yeah. I want to thank you for taking the time. I mean, I really enjoyed our conversation,
Thanks so
and
much
your,
for having me.
yeah, and your new album as well. I mean, really, really awesome. Look forward to it coming out. I'm sure you do as well, right around the corner. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. Are you able to play a song for the pod?
I don't even have my trumpet in the
You
room.
don't.
Oh man, I will next
uh,
time. Let's do
Okay,
another one of
okay,
these
okay,
soon.
okay,
Maybe when the next record comes out, we'll do another one. I'll make sure I
okay.
warm up and I flew yesterday. I didn't even play. I probably sound like I'm in middle school again. Sorry.
Well, even when you were in middle school, you were still worlds beyond most people,
Oh,
I think, at that
whatever.
point, right? So,
Oh, whatever.
like you said, you were teaching at 14, right? So,
That's true. I was, yeah, yeah.
what was I doing at 14? Making public access TV shows, I guess.
Hey,
But
that's brilliant.
yeah, yeah.
I
So,
think whatever you're doing is valid as long as you're loving it. Like I said, doing it from a place of love. That's all that matters.
True.
Yeah.
Well, Tony, you have an awesome day ahead. Be
Hey, you have
safe.
an awesome day. Cheers. Love to everybody out there. Stay well, stay inside, and look inward for the answers. That's where they're at.
Will do. And yeah, congrats on the album coming out tomorrow. So
Thank you very much. All right, we'll talk soon. Cheers.
yeah. And that was the interview with Tony Glausi here on Concert Pipeline. And Jens, that takes us to the final segment of the podcast. What is it?
It does. It does. It's our segment on music news.
That is right. And Jens, for those new to the program, which there's always someone new, right? This is a segment where we each, share a couple of stories about what's going on in the music world. So
exactly, yeah. We always hope to have something informative or interesting to bring. Sometimes the news is a little bit thin, but it's definitely been interesting. During the past year. In traditional fashion, I'll let you go ahead and start with the first story, and then I'll follow.
Jens. So Jens, my first story is about Miley Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Is there a Wrecking Ball Part 2 coming out, or what's up with her?
Well, I can't speak to that, but I can tell you that Elton John is playing piano on Miley Cyrus's new cover of Metallica's Nothing Else Matters.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So she's been covering some songs lately. I think her most recent album has a couple of covers on it. And Chad Smith is going to be guesting on her forthcoming Metallica covers album. You heard that right. So she's going to have a covers album that's being pulled together, and the Nothing Else Matters has been released. I think that's the first single, but she told back in October that she was intending to record an album. Now she's saying that Elton John is among the guests, lending his talents. Chad Smith. She says she's so excited about the collaboration. Andrew Watt produced it, and she's really stoked.
That's awesome. Good for her. That's exciting. Wait a minute, is the whole thing, is the whole album that's being released Metallica covers?
That's what it sounds like. Yeah, she says, I love when ingredients don't quite fit, or it seems like a concoction that no one would put together, and you've got to have someone wild enough like Watt that'll take that risk. So she had previously performed a cover of Nothing Else Matters during her set at Glastonbury Festival in 2019. And if you ask nicely, I can play a little bit of what that might sound like.
Go ahead and do that, Steve. That would be wonderful. I think everyone would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Turn it down a bit. There we go. She's got a good voice for this. If you're going to do a cover, if you're Miley Cyrus and you're going to do a cover album, you're going to pick a band to do a cover album. Yeah, I think she did a good job picking Metallica.
I mean, I will listen to that. I'm not a Miley fan, but I'll listen
exactly. It's interesting
takes.
Enough, to listen to, because I'm not a Miley fan either. But when an artist does something, interesting like that, it's worth a listen. If she did an album cover, if she decided to cover Prince or something, I probably wouldn't listen to that.
No, maybe staying away from that, huh?
Yeah,
but we'll see when that comes out and how it is, but might be worth a listen. So
all right, good stuff.
That's my story. What do you got?
There you go, Miley. Yeah. Well, when you were talking about your story, I just had this vision of Miley coming in a wrecking ball, ripping right through Elton John's piano. That was the visual I had. Okay. Oh my God. So I've got a story about Dr. Dre. This poor guy is still in the ICU. He suffered a brain aneurysm. This happened early January, and he was, he had the aneurysm. He was rushed to the hospital, and he, thank goodness, was said to be stable. He was said to be lucid. And then he was able to later share an update with his fans through social media. And he let everyone know that he was doing great.
He's hanging in there, huh?
Yeah, that's nice to hear. I mean, brain aneurysm, I would think usually isn't that synonymous with doing great.
I mean,
thank God he was able to, recover, or on the road to recovery anyway.
So when we think that, we've had a hard 2020 and, 2021 is starting out rough, right? I mean, we just need to think about the others that have it so much harder, including, Dr. Dre, and just be thankful for what we got, right?
Exactly. If you look at the big picture, it really puts, stuff into perspective.
Yeah.
So they're keeping Dr. Dre in the ICU so they can carry on running, quote, a battery of tests to get to the root of the problem, unquote. And as a precaution, in case he suffers another aneurysm, that's why they've got him in there. So it's kind of a mystery. They don't know yet 100% what caused the damn thing. So when the news first broke that he had been hospitalized, we had a bunch of stars show up to support him. It's always nice.
Show up at the hospital? Probably not.
No, sorry. They showed their support for him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, stay away.
Did I say show up? Yeah, no. Sorry, yeah. They showed their support. They showed up to show their support, but showed up not physically at the hospital, but showed up, however they showed their support. Right, yeah. So we had Missy Elliott. We had Ice Cube, very cool. All sharing or sending their support to their homie. Nice.
Well, wishing him the best. Hopefully he pushes through just fine, and they're able to figure out what's going on there. So
exactly. Yeah. So sending you all the love, Dr. Dre. Have a speedy recovery, man.
So Jens, I'll tell you that actually this just happened a couple of days ago, so it's in the past now. But Adam Lambert, Slipknot, and the Foo Fighters supergroup was set to rock a Bowie celebration.
Yeah.
Ricky Gervais, Boy George were newly announced people that were. There was a Bowie live stream concert set to take place on January 8th, which would have been his 74th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, we missed that.
I know. I was actually hoping to watch it, and I guess I blew it. But it was titled A Bowie Celebration Just for One Day, and it was organized by his pianist Mike Garson, and members of his touring lineups through the years, joined by a number of special guests, including Trent Reznor, Harry Farrell, Joe Elliott of Def Leppard, Ian Astbury of The Cult, Billy Corgan, Gavin Rossdale of Bush, Peter Frampton, many others. I mean, lots of folks. So let me see who else. Supergroup Ground Control featuring Dave Navarro and Chris Chaney of Jane's Addiction, Corey Taylor from Slipknot and Stone Sour, and Foo Fighters drummer Taylor Hawkins. So tons of performances, and just for one night. So I'm imagining it can't be watched again unless you find it through some other source. But yeah, that would have been cool to check out. I meant to do that.
I know, that sucks. Too bad they don't have it eternally streaming or something until his next birthday.
Yeah, but hopefully there will be another just for one night, and we can tune in, because I mean we've talked about it before, of course, but 2016 that Bowie concert was pretty damn amazing.
Freaking epic. Yeah, that was one of the best shows hands down that we've been to.
Yeah.
It would have to be like just for the next night, or it would have to be just for another night. I don't know. It'd have to be different. Anyway, are you done with your story? Can I like continue?
I'm done. Yeah, you'll keep fine. You can continue. Geez, I know you're excited to share your last story.
I am, and this is a great segue. I'm glad how you put this music news together for us, Steve. I got a story about David Bowie.
What? How's that possible?
I don't know, but apparently he's in the news. Maybe he's looking down, and he's smiling about all this news that's going on about him. Or maybe he's embarrassed. It's like, oh my God, guys, come on. So apparently, Bowie has done some covers.
Like Miley Cyrus.
Maybe taking a chapter out of Miley Cyrus's book, exactly. Done some covers. Specifically, did some covers of Bob Dylan and John Lennon. And these are previously unheard.
Okay.
Covers. So maybe Bowie recorded these in the closet, right? Nobody heard them except for him.
Okay, maybe.
So anyway, so Bowie's take on Lennon's Mother and Dylan's Trying to Get to Heaven have been released to mark what would have been his 74th birthday. Hey,
what?
I think you had mentioned that. Yeah. Spoiler alert. Okay, so so these have been released for the first time, and the new take on Lennon's track, which Lennon wrote back in 1970, was originally recorded by Bowie in 1998. You know what? He's been holding out on us for that long, right? He records this shit back in 1998, doesn't release it while he's alive, but he goes ahead and dies, and I don't know, tells somebody to release it on his 74th birthday. And
23 years later, here we are.
23 later, yeah, and here we are. We've got some, fresh new content from a rock and roll legend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's how awesome is that? So it was it was set to appear on Lennon's tribute collection, but the release ultimately failed to emerge. Maybe they lost it.
Yeah.
But maybe it was in that warehouse that burned down. Remember we covered that story once?
Yeah. It's here in your want to hear part of Trying to Get to Heaven, don't you?
Yeah. Yep, sounds better than the original.
more audible. You could hear the words.
More audible. Yeah, you can kind of understand the lyrics. It sounds more like a song, and less of kind of a painful, deathly moan. But great. Yeah, nice. I love it. Let's see. So that Trying to Get to Heaven was from Dylan's 1997 Grammy-winning album Time Out of Mind. It was originally recorded by Bowie also back in 1998 while working on his live album Live and Well.
All right.
.com.
Well, Jens, I have one more story to close us out. One more story here.
Is it about Dave Grohl?
It is about Dave Grohl. And the second Foo Fighters story of the show, I'll just have you noticed, right? Because the last one had a little Foo Fighters crossover.
It did, yeah. The drummer of the Foo Fighters you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let me guess. Dave Grohl is doing a cover of all of Miley Cyrus's stuff.
Now that would be awesome, yes, but no, that's not the story. So they did an Austin City Limits special just a couple of days ago, actually.
Cool.
In which they performed their 1997 classic "My Hero," and that's on Austin City Limits and on PBS, and Dave Grohl says, "I'm sure I could speak for every musician when I say that being asked to come play Austin City Limits is practically like getting a medal. As a musician, it's something to aspire to, and if you actually achieve that, then you wear it like a badge." It features music from their appearance in 2008 and 2014 as part of the 25th anniversary celebration, which starts the second half of season 46 of that series. It's going to also see performances by the War and Treaty, Ray Wiley Hubbard, Spoon, some tributes, and others. And so the Foo Fighters kicked off 2021 with the release of their new single "No Son of Mine" at midnight on New Year's Eve, which followed their first single "Shame Shame" off their forthcoming 10th studio album "Medicine at Midnight," which will be released on February 5th. So we will have more Foo Fighters news in coming weeks, I'm quite sure.
Very nice.
Yes.
Very nice, man. I can't wait to hear some more of Dave Grohl's shenanigans. Like, I can't wait for another shenanigan story. Like,
I know. How
like
much can you get
Rick
up to
Astley.
in COVID times, right? So
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, I can't really actually get out there. So, thank God for Dave Grohl.
Indeed. That's our show, Jens. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We don't have another interview lined up yet right now. January starting off a little bit slow, but we'll get some more things on the books here in the next couple of weeks. So subscribe to the podcast, and then you'll know when we got new stuff coming out. Make this the right thing to do, right?
So, yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you, Jens, for confirming. I appreciate it.
I'm confirming. I'm just looking at your guitar. Did you mount your guitar on the wall?
It's there.
That's a mount, right? You screwed a mount in the wall, in the wall, and
Yes.
It's hanging.
Yeah,
that looks pretty fucking awesome, dude. I love it.
Pretty great, isn't it?
Yeah. You gonna play us a tune soon?
I'm not gonna do any such thing because I do not play the guitar. So thank you, Jens. Thank you, Jens, for putting that up in the world.
I had to put that out there. Yeah.
That's a great time.
You gotta practice.
Great time to end the podcast. Thank you. So for all of us here at Concert Pipeline, that's Jens Schippel.
And that's Steve Jones.
We'll catch you next time.
Later.